Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our daily encouragement from our series Roadmap to Jesus. Thank you for tuning in this morning. I will try and be short and sweet. Today's topic, it's one of those things that are really easy to speak about, but it's hard to put into practice. It's one of those things that we all want to receive, but actually we find it hard to give. Any guesses? Well, the topic is forgiveness, and forgiveness is a big subject in the Bible, so I'm just going to choose two aspects and look at Jesus' example of forgiveness, and then at the end I'm going to add from my own experience about forgiveness as well. And so the first example I want to look at is Jesus' example is this. He's on the cross, he's been beaten, he's been flogged, he's been insulted, he's been put through horrible things, and he's been treated like a vile criminal, even though he's completely innocent. What is Jesus' example? Looking at the very people that put him through all that, and whilst he's under terrible pain at their hands, Jesus says this: Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. How can Jesus say that? He's under immense pain, yet he says something that is opposite to what we would say. And that's because his heart is full of love, it's full of mercy, it's full of forgiveness, because he loves people. And he's shown an example of God's character towards people. Love even for his worst enemies that put him through this horrible ordeal and experience. Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they are doing. The second aspect of Jesus' forgiveness is on the cross, and he's been crucified in between two criminals who deserve to be there. And they mock him, they insult him, they ridicule him. And then at some point, one man changes his tune. Perhaps he recognizes who Jesus is by his words and actions. And what does he say? He says, remember me when you go to heaven. What did Jesus say? What would you say in that situation? Would you say, no chance, you deserve the punishment you're getting? Jesus, under suffering and pain, what does he say? He says, today you'll be with me in paradise. How can he say that? He can say that because he's a God of love. He's a God who loves people, and he desires every single person to turn to him and receive the forgiveness that God offers. Through what Jesus did on the cross, it was God's plan that Jesus died on the cross so that every single person, anyone who calls on his name, will receive that forgiveness from God. All we have to do is ask. That's because he's a God of love. And because God's heart is full of love and full of forgiveness, it gives me reassurance, it gives me hope, knowing that I trust in, I follow a God who completely forgives because he completely loves. And that gives me reassurance in who I am following. We can learn much about looking at God's example and Jesus' example about how we should forgive others. But let's be honest, it is hard. It's hard to put it into practice. It's easy to read about, but it's hard. Sometimes we don't want to forgive people. We don't want to. We enjoy the going over our mind that person's wronged us. So from my own experience, somebody wronged me once. I don't want to give many details, but they were a Christian, and they came on something, and their behaviour and their actions weren't very Christian. And they did this in front of a lot of my non-Christian friends who I'd been trying to witness to, and their behaviour was terrible, and it cost me, say, £500, I think it was, to repair the damages that had been caused by this person. And then the person was still in church, and I remember after the event thinking, well, I need to put forgiveness into practice here. So I said, okay, Lord, I forgive that person. But then I felt like the Lord was challenging me. Perhaps you need to put that forgiveness into practice by inviting that person round for coffee and demonstrating your forgiveness, that he's forgiven. And I did that. It wasn't easy, but I know once I'd done that, then it had gone. I'd said it, he's forgiven, but then when I put it into practice, when I demonstrated it by my actions to him, then there was a release, so to speak, that it was forgotten about. So can I encourage you, regarding forgiveness, let's remember that we're completely forgiven by a God of love who forgives us for all our wrongs, and I've got quite a few, so I'm very thankful. But also let's remember that he calls us to be people who demonstrate. We're to be ambassadors to show what God's like to other people by the way that we act, by the way that we behave, by the way that we forgive and let things go, so to speak. Have a great day, everybody. Look forward to seeing you all soon. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.